the Managing Director, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Managing Director, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, other invited guests and stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. I'm highly delighted to welcome you all to today's interactive meeting, which is aimed at gathering stakeholders' inputs on the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act 2010, Amendment Number 4, Bill 2021. You may recall that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria at its sitting on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021, read the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act Number 3, 2014 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 669. The second time I refer same to our committee for further legislative action. So far, the committee has written and forwarded copies of the bills to the identified stakeholders for their inputs. It is hoped that your inputs will assist in no small measure in enriching the content of the bill. Distinguished colleagues, this amendment has become very crucial in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has ravaged the entire globe and crippled national economies. Our economy is not immune from negative impact of COVID-19. Key institutions in the financial sector have been at their creative best to cope with these challenging times. AMCON is a very important and strategic national institution that must be strengthened and given the financial muscle to perform its responsibility optimally. This proposed amendment will not only extend the tenure of the resolution cost fund, but it will also assist to effectively consolidate on the achievements so far made toward improving the financial sector in particular and national economy at large. At this juncture, I urge you to feel free and make your inputs. Be rest assured that the committee is processing the bill. In processing the bill, will consider all stakeholders' contribution. Thank you, and God bless you all. I would like to now hand over the House to our invited guests to make their own presentation on the amendment bill.
Senator Uba Sani, other distinguished senators present, Clerk of the House, representative of Central Bank Governor, NDIC, representative of Federal Ministry of Finance, AMCON executive colleagues here, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be at this esteemed sitting of the Committee for the Public Hearing of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act Number 3, Amendment Bill 2021, which particularly emphasizes on extension of the tenure of the Resolution Cost Fund and other related matters as contained in the Asset Management of Nigeria Act 2015 as amended. The meeting is unique as it seeks to remove any subsisting ambiguity surrounding the operations of the Resolution Cost Fund and other related matters escapulated in the AMCON Act. Before looking at the main theme of today's stakeholders engagement, it is important to give a little bit of background as to the motive behind setting up of AMCON in the first place. Due to the global financial crisis of 2008, which has affected the economy, at the onset of the global financial crisis, there were foreign portfolio withdrawals of credit lines and investment from Nigeria. The stock market collapsed. More than 80% of its value was lost. Banking sector was also affected as a result of poor risk management. The non-performing loan rose above 60%. As a result of the crisis, nations all over the world adopted different approaches to mitigate and, control the situation. That was how the concept of asset management was created. In Nigeria, as a result of the financial crisis, the Asset Management Corporation Bill was passed by the National Assembly in 2010, and it was signed by the President on 19th of July 2010, the same year. The Act gave AMCON very clear mandate targeted at addressing the financial systematic challenges and cleansing up the system. Our main objective is to acquire non-performing loans from the bank, manage those loans, and as we go along, sell those assets and recover the money and then settle the debt obligations. AMCON purchased about 12,700 EBS loans worth 3.8 trillion from 22 eligible financial institutions for a purchase price of 1.8 trillion. The purchase was covered by various collaterals. And out of these 12,700 loans, 8,000 of them were below 100 naira, which represent more than 80% of the total EBA. What it does is that less than 20% of the 12,700, which is about 350 obligos, accounts for more than 80% of the amount of loan purchased. The corporation had to also inject about 2.2 trillion to 10 banks to bring the net asset value to zero. The injection of the 2.2 trillion is not covered by any collateral. It is assumed that the collateral of 3.8 trillion that covered the 1.8 trillion will cover ultimately, if it is properly recovered, the 2.2 trillion financial accommodation provided for the 10 financial institutions. The corporation took over also Sky Bank, which is now Polaris Bank, by injecting also additional around 900 billion. The bank is now stabilized and operating efficiently. The fund for the intervention was raised in the market. Bonds were issued, and it is expected that through the recovery that the liabilities will be adjusted. Now, there are about 4 identified sources of repayment. There are clawbacks. Clawbacks means where you realize that any loan that you purchase from any financial institution does not fit into the definition of EBA, we claw back that loan to that financial institution. So that is a source of inflow into the corporation. Then there are recoveries, which we recover directly from the obligors. Then there is a contribution by CBN, and then also contribution through the banking sector cost resolution cost fund.
Distinguished Senator, mine is just an information. I want to draw the attention of my distinguished colleague, distinguished Senator Aduma Alero, that when the MD of AMCON was making his presentation, he made reference to the BOFIA 2020, which was passed and now assented by Mr. President. It's a law now. And in that BOFIA Act, we created a credit tribunal. Yeah. So what we need to do now is that we need to also add a clause here that AMCON can approach the credit tribunal that is right now in AMCON, in BOFIA Act, at least, because he made mention of a lot of problems they're having in the courts. With the judiciary, I don't think they can recover this thing right now. But with the tribunal, I think they can be able to achieve their mandate. So we will certainly add that provision in the AMCON Act that we're trying to amend. Thank you very much.
The tribunal stated in the BOFIA Act.
Yeah, it's already.
Yeah, it's already in.
It's already in the BOFIA Act. Mr. President have assented. Okay. And as I'm talking to you, the Attorney General and Mr. President are working toward now establishing the tribunal. Okay. Any moment from now.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to lend my support to the conversation that has been going on, and in particular, want to commend the role that the CBN and AMCON has been playing in stabilizing the financial system. I mean, they played huge role, very significant role, right from, as it has been articulated in this particular memo, from the time of the global financial crisis up till date. And part of, in the submission of the AMCON's MD, when he mentioned that there will always be, I thought I got a sense that there will be issues around purchase of eligible assets. For me to give him my own background as well, I know that after the dust around COVID will have settled, I imagine that there will be issues with some bank assets again, I imagine. So, which will underscore the role that they play in the entire financial system. But having said that, I also will align with the thoughts around the tenure elongation. And but in aligning, I also will be mindful of the total amount that is at risk. If we say 5 years or 10 years, and with the stream of revenues or income that they've been using to retire, I am not sure it can clean it up. That doesn't mean we should make it, open-ended. So for the school of thought that will suggest 5 years and possibly a renewal after 5 years if it's not cleaned up, I probably will look at the model that will work. However, there is one point that I also think I must bring to the fore. In all when I look at the page 2 of the AMCON's MD's report, particularly around the sources of payback and funding. Now, all the major contributors there, the only name that I didn't see is NDIC. And I have my reason for saying NDIC, because I'm equally aware that as the banks, who are the creators of most of these bad debts, as they contribute to this repayment, they also make payments, they also pay insurance premium on a yearly basis to the NDIC. And averagely, as we speak today, is in excess of 100 billion, I know. And I'm also aware that even for those on the monies that NDIC receive as premiums for these deposits in the banking system, the premium that will crystallize in the last, from the records that I have, is under 1%. So the question is, the excess above that premium that you pay should also be brought, or a reasonable amount of it, reasonable, not just the paltry amount, must be brought into this repayment source in order to find, to accelerate the repayment of the amount that is at stake. Because at the end of the day, the deposits that the banks are insuring are, they are the same deposit that they take out to create the loans. So now when the chips are down, NDIC too has a major role to play in the recovery and the funding of the sinking fund. So I would like us to look at that very critically and see how we'll bring them into the fold. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I think we have already fine. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this amendment bill acted in a very good, utmost good faith. Looking at the fact that today most of the debtors, just as the chairman said, are very strong in the society. And the only way we can get them pinned down is by making our laws work. Here, AMCON has a very, very important role when these laws are even passed, to be able to have the will to take on these laws and act on them. One, when we extend by 5 years, the proliferation of liabilities, the debts, it's all there with you, and you know who they are. We cannot just sit, make laws, and we cannot apply these laws. And that is the reason why it keeps taking time. From 2010 to 2020, 2021 now. And the liabilities, we are now talking, if it's just to give to a willing buyer, we are not going to get more than 10% or 15% of the total liability. And this is at the detriment of depositors. Because the loan that is being given is a recycled money. It's money being deposited by individuals, by Nigerian taxpayers. So I think, just as the sponsor of the bill said, laws are continuous. I will want a situation where AMCON, whenever they are finding it very difficult, a situation they find difficult, come back to the National Assembly with a way forward so that we'll be able to tackle and set a goal that between now and the next 2 years, we should be able to get something out of these people. We should not give them the chance. We're all Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, excuse me. About the NDIC, the 1%. Premium in insurance, you're paying premium against liabilities, against certain risk. And we're a nation. NDIC is not different from AMCON or CBN. They are part of a government organ. So in as much as they collect those 1%, I think it is only fair also for them to contribute this 1% to the cost of getting back those liabilities that have been taken by individuals. So I support him. We should find a framework at which those certain seed money that is kept by NDIC should be taken as part of the contribution to AMCON for these liabilities, recovery of these liabilities, and settlement of the debts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I align myself with all the observations that have already been made on the necessity for this bill, this amendment bill, and I thank sponsor, a good friend and chairman, for this well-considered bill. I just wanted to use this opportunity to say that it is, Mr. Chairman, the deliberate, in my view, deliberate the way and manner the government intervened to bail out banks that has put this country in this situation. When this idea was mooted, at that time I was in the House of Reps chairing the House Committee on Justice. We wrote to the then Attorney General, Mr. Ndoaka, and the CBN governor. And for me, I was very clear about my ideological, philosophical opposition to the idea of the federal government or the states using state resources to bail out enterprises that are fundamentally private in nature. People's private investments. We are talking of about 5 trillion. It's a staggering sum. And Senator Alera and I were conversing about how we can get a tribunal. So it's very relieving that already the new BOFIA amendment has taken care of that, which is a good thing. But it is that deliberate abuse, that contravention of the capitalist philosophy of our economy that has put this country where we are. If you look at the Constitution, we operate a capitalist economy where people, maybe even families or businessmen come together, set up companies, call them banks, get licenses, do businesses, declare profits, earn dividends. And then when either by their recklessness or by their misdemeanors, they now deliberately, create situations of insolvency in their businesses for themselves, run by themselves. The Central Bank of Nigeria at that time intervened and then pumped in public resources. And I understand now those is about 5 trillion or something in nature. I'm saying this, what has happened has already happened. So we have to think of ways by which we try and get those who are concerned to pay back. One way or the other, they must pay back. And we must all support AMCON, and we're in support of strengthening the mechanism that will enable that happen. But I'm saying this for me, I remain ideologically opposed, as I was at that time, so that in case AMCON, if you are thinking again of going to bail out people's private businesses that they have run down and use our public resources, maybe because of the free oil money coming from the Niger Delta. Yes, because if we're paying tax and running governments on taxation, we will be careful about this. Instead of spending 5 trillion to build roads and schools and hospitals, put into defense and stability and security that is creating problems, we allowed people who are already very rich, wealthy. Some of them are richer than their local governments, some as rich as their states. My senior knows how we manage to run states these days. Some of these people are very wealthy. They have investments all over the world. And some way, the state, that is the country, now took this position of intervening with public resources to bail out businesses that are essentially private in nature. So I remain opposed to that, but I just thought I should mention it just in case AMCON, if you are thinking of that, at least know that there's one voice and probably more that will join in opposition to that. While we join you to strengthen AMCON, strengthen you to recover as much as we can recover. Thank you, Chairman and colleagues. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, I think you want to say something? So, okay, go ahead.
Well done, Chairman. My colleagues, it's very, very important, Sani Musa, distinguished. One house, please. It's very, very important at this point for sometimes you look at businesses or loans being taken by AMCON from a different perspective. I don't know if we have ever made any policy that grants that people can take the government to ransom for inability of government to implement their policies. We have businesses here, and I have my colleagues here outside me who has invested hugely in line with government policy, and that was the government policy somersault. There is no law in this country that is harnessing or supporting people who have invested in line with government. We come here to make policies on a daily rest, but we have never come to the rescue of anybody who has invested in line with the policy we make, in line with the policy of government that somersaulted. And we talked about paying of debt here as if we are police. Senator Ashiru knows how difficult it is to operate on this economy. And I can tell you my position. I am also very much sure that distinguished Senator Aliero will tell you his position. What do we do with investors that invested in line with government policy and government policy was truncated? We have seen government implemented the policy and there was uprise in 2 weeks, and government spent 1 year to implement that policy, and just 2 weeks of riot, government reversed their policy, and the business people become jeopardized in their investment. So if we are talking about debt recovery in AMCON, it is nobody goes to the bank. Any bank that gives any businessman loan because his face is fine or because his mother is this and that, it is their own, it is the bank's issue. You don't go to a bank and take a loan without adequate collateral.